Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we actually have something a bit special and something I definitely haven't seen around YouTube for well, like ever. And anyways, today's video we're going to be talking about Alliance War and Alliance War defense. So today basically is start of season 15. Now our alliance probably will not go all in this season just because Abyss is coming out and quite a few of our members are kind of intending to push that quite quickly. But we happen to have been matched against KENOB, which as we all know is probably the most dominant Alliance War player currently, and they definitely have been winning majority of most recent seasons. Therefore it's also kind of safe to assume they have a really stacked defense, even though I do think that possibly there are some alliances with a bit more stacked defense, because KENOB wins because of their offensive ability and practically never dying. But nonetheless they are top level alliance with a top level defense, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at their defense basically. So if we jump in there, the war is freshly started, so I'm gonna quickly browse the bosses and the mini bosses kind of like on the first two battle groups, and then we're gonna pay a bit more attention to battle group number 3, and we're gonna explore that. For those of you who are interested in catching like it node for node, I will flip through it all quite slowly in case you do want to kind of capture and get your defense ideas to see what's placed where when it comes to kind of like top of the tier 1 alliance wars. And that is about that. So you can see that the final boss is Havoc. Now final boss, in all honesty, doesn't matter too much recently in Alliance Wars, because every single champion in the game has a decent to great counter. You can place Thing there. Thing has decent counters in like Gwenpool, Aegon, Void, or some other champions. You can place Havoc there. Havoc has his counters. Take Warlock for instance, absolutely shreds that guy. You can place Guillotine 2099 there. That's not too difficult. And Alliance War boss in tier 1 rarely gets many kills. Sometimes obviously they do snag in the 1 because of the health pool, because of the attack, but typically for most part if opposing alliance is taking it seriously, bosses normally only get kind of 1 kill. Couple quick mentions though. The thing here on this counter tactics breakthrough node is an excellent placement, because Man-Thing is immune to armor break. So breakthrough basically increases his armor rating by a lot, and you do not suffer any repercussions. There's no downside, because typically breakthrough damage can add up to massive amounts, but champions like Dr. Doom, Man-Thing, and Thing are immune to armor break, therefore they are always fantastic placements for breakthrough nodes. And yeah, Man-Thing is definitely quite tough opponent there. And another extremely kind of like popular placement that does often provide some problems is Vision Arcus here on that increased power gain node with enhanced special 2, just because it's quite tricky to deal with him there, because the level 2 is not easy to evade, and if it's unblockable it also does quite a bit of damage. Obviously increased power gain plus the fact that he gains power himself does mean he's quite tricky opponent. Obviously there are answers for him. If you bring in some really great power control champions, then all the power to you, but it is one of those placements that definitely does require special preparation, special champions to be taken in. And yeah, the boss is Havoc. A few more notable ones here. Obviously Path 4, here we have Nick Fury and Killmonger. Kind of think that they are really good options, because since everybody started quaking dominoes on Path 4, that kind of implies that you're gonna have somebody go down there with Black Widow and Quake and making the next fight Killmonger, which is doable with Quake, but definitely a really kind of tricky fight. So yeah, there is that, and I think that is quite wise placement over there. Dr. Doom in the middle here, and then we have Namor on the Safeguard node, and Mysterio there on the immunity node, Thing on inverted controls with Korg. So that's what's happening in battle group 1. Let's take a look at battle group 2. Obviously the placements are different, and it's always good to juggle them up. Here we can see that on the final boss node we have Dr. Doom, and Dr. Doom is one of those champions. Well, first of all, he is quite a good boss because Aura makes it really tricky to use special attacks against him, plus you need that shock immunity, otherwise you're just gonna get slapped to death. So there aren't too many kind of like really great counters to him that can do the fight kind of convincingly, but at the same time there are definitely some options that can be used I have seen Ghost do fantastic against Dr. Doom and a few other champions, but Dr. Doom is also one of those champions that's relatively new to the contest, and that's kind of like a typical scenario which we can often see, definitely, that whenever new champions get added, if they have even somewhat decent defensive kind of capabilities, they always end up on the boss node for first month or two until people learn how to counter them properly, and then they can catch quite a few people off guard. Now when it comes to mini bosses over here, it's kind of like your standard variation of nasty champions to face off against. A thing with increased power gain, that is definitely 100% Quake food. Then we have Starting Hand Spider-Man counter tactics, which kind of can be tricky, I guess, but I don't think it's like the most difficult placement for mini bosses here overall. Now Domino on Safeguard node is extremely common placement here, and you can often see that Domino, because even if you bring in champions that are good or great counters for Domino, outside of Quake, nobody's kind of like safe from that critical fail damage, and that does chip opponents down quite quickly, quite aggressively, and combined with the fact that there she cannot take more than 1% of her health at a time, it typically extends the fight quite a bit, and Domino manages to get in a lot of damage regardless how well you play. And then we can see here the after section 1 mini bosses Man-Thing and Symbiote Supreme. That's fairly interesting. Again, Nick Fury on the first node on path 4, and then Mysterio, which I think is again quite decent to good placement over there. And Aegis Heavy, Aegis Intercept are Mephistos and Ebony Maw. Anyways, now we're going to take a look at Battle Group 3, and this is my battle group. This is what I'm going to be up against, so we can already kind of like scout ahead of the time. So we have Man-Thing. Man-Thing is also quite a good boss, just because even if the champion technically counters Man-Thing, obviously Man-Thing does bring down the damage from critical hits quite substantially. Additionally, there is healing involved, and additionally you need a poison immune character. Typically, I think one of the best answers for Man-Thing is Red Hulk. Red Hulk absolutely loves that fight, and obviously there are other solutions to that guy as well, but as a main point, kind of like your Ghost, like your Corvuses and so on and so forth, are definitely a lot less effective. And now we have Void on Immunity node, which is a tricky placement. I do like that, because Void is always a bit of a dodgy fight. When you happen to mess up, then you take some damage, plus those debuff damage can add up, and Void is a fight that can kind of be done with any champion, but you have to be good whilst fighting, and I like that kind of fights. I think it's definitely a clever placement over there. Corvus on counter tactics is extremely common placement as well, largely because of the fact that the block damage becomes insane for Corvus. Once you drop a couple of combos at him, he hits crazy hard in block, so there's like hardly any room for error. And even if he catches you once you are on like 20-30 combos, that first crit is gonna be insane. And yeah, again, Vision Arcus on Power Gain node, that's definitely really dominant placement over there. We have an enhanced special one for Guillotine 2099. That's alright placement, I think. Guillotine 2099 can be quite an annoying opponent, just because she constantly can keep draining your power with the level 1, which is frustrating. Darkhawk here on Dismay and Immunity. That's alright. I mean, that's kind of like fair enough placement. Darkhawk can be scary if you do not have a great counter for him, or on some really tricky nodes. And here we can see on path 1, which is like recovery and vigor nodes, we have Iron Man, Infinity War, and Nick Fury. And this Nick Fury has also a buffet node on, so that is quite interesting. I wonder how that's gonna work out. And I mainly focus either on path 4 or 5 for both sections. So here we can see Dormammu, and that is just basically kind of villain node. Path 4 doesn't have it like too tricky there. This Havoc again has strike back, so you have to be careful about that. Domino on Safeguard, once again, that's a really kind of like common idea when you're facing against, because yeah, you can almost always see Domino there. Korg in between, I think, is also a good placement, because Korg that goes unstoppable, and most of the unstoppable counters kind of normally are from science class, so that is also again quite good placement. Again, sorry, unblockable, not unstoppable. Either way. And yeah, again, so here we can see Thing and All or Nothing and Brute Force, and Black Widow, Clairvoyant and All or Nothing. On path 9 we have Ebony Maw and Rhino for Aegis Heavy, that's fair enough, and then we have Silver Surfer and Human Torch for reverse control bits. So that is basically kind of like a fairly standard when it comes to the most of the nodes, because the truth of the matter is that majority of the nodes on the map aren't really going to be the ones that catch you out. There are some like specifically tricky, like we all know that path 4 in section 1 is one of the kind of hard points, and then it kind of matters more so for mini bosses. The safeguard node, possibly here this immunity node, and the big buffet node can be tricky as well, and then whatever kind of surprise people place on path 7. But for the most part, yeah, that is the placement over here that we can see. Also wanted to check, do we see the modifiers, defensive tactics? So in this case they have gone with Siphon, and Siphon is actually new, buffed, and quite scary defensive tactic that basically means that villains can absolutely shred you through their block. So that is quite scary, and plus 500% attack if benefiting from defensive tactic. That's a new thing that's added to Alliance Wars. That's definitely going to make it quite a bit harder as well, and it also increases the health if you are benefiting from the defensive tactic. So Battle Group 3 is Siphon. Let's check the Battle Group 2, and that is going to be again Siphon. So it seems like they have gone all in with Siphon. Let's check the last one. Yes, all 3 battle groups are using Siphon. Previously we only could see pretty much Dodge or Bulwark, so now we're definitely going to be seeing some more variation in between that. My only worry is that everybody is going to start using Siphon again, and that's going to kind of defeat the purpose, because before we could at least face against 2 defensive tactics. Now everybody is just talking about Siphon because it is a really scary one. But that being said, this is kind of pretty much it. So we have went over through the most notable nodes on the defense from one of the better defenses possible out there currently. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hope you guys found it useful. If you have any comments or anything specific you guys would like me to talk about when it comes to Alliance War defense or Alliance War offense, do leave a comment, ask a question. I'll do my best to oblige and release a video on that. Now, when it comes to Alliance War videos, we'll see again, because I am likely to be pretty much having to quake everything and anything the entire season, so I might not be uploading many Alliance War attack footage. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you like this type of content, and possibly I can do this like once a week or once, I don't know, once or twice a month, when we go over some of the bigger Alliance defenses, what people like to place, which defensive tactics use, so on and so forth. But yeah, that will pretty much do for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and obviously, as always, I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya!